have ever met. Shedeur Sanders and the Buffs taking on UCF. Cam Newton, Travis Hunter were chopping it up pre-game.
We'll get to that in a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Just to what you said, yes,
see.
I do agree that they are a better football team this year, and they were running the football today, 128 yards rushing. What impresses me the most about Colorado right now is you look at them, that's back-to-back games that were toss-ups that we didn't know if they were going to win. They were a double-digit underdog coming into this game.
Yeah.
That's another game, TCU last year, that they've won as double-digit underdogs, and you don't see that often from teams in the college football season. So right now, Colorado has 4 wins. The goal is what? Bowl game.
Right.
They have 7 games left. If you can at least give me 2 out of those 7, then we're going
like
bowling.
their chances.
We're going bowling, right? Next game is Kansas State. After that is Arizona. Kansas State, I like Kansas State winning that.
Yeah.
Tough one to win.
Yeah,
but I
see.
like Arizona. After that, Cincinnati, Texas Tech, then Utah. Then they got Kansas and Oklahoma State to close out the season. So I think they have a chance here to at least win 2 out of those last games.
All right, so the question I think here is, Travis Hunter's going to be in New York, right? I don't think there's really any debate about that.
I mean, if he's not in New York, I'm not watching.
And that I think a lot of people are going to say that because he, quite frankly, is doing things that we have never seen done in college football before. We have seen them tried many times, but the consistency with which he is playing both sides and the efficiency with which he is playing both sides is
service to the game if what we think is the best athlete in college football is not present that celebrates the best athlete in college football, you know. And I don't really care if Colorado loses every football game for the rest of the season.
Yep.
If he continues to do what he did today 4 or 5 more times this season with interceptions, with big clutch catches, with touchdowns, I feel like he has to be present for it.
And here's the reason why I believe he has to be present for it, because every single Heisman has one specific characteristic that separates them from everybody else in the country. They make the entire team better.
Yes.
Right?
Wonderful game. Wonderful game. Utmost respect for Coach Malzahn. I mean, he is keeps me going, keeps me on my toes. What he's accomplished and what he's brought to college football is phenomenal. And the way he started, things he's gone through, it just inspires me tremendously. And to be on the same darn field with one of the guys that took my son to one of his camps and was being recruited by, that offered him, and has been just straight up 100 his whole entire career, and I got love for him. But to be on the opposing side coaching against him was historic for me, and I'm thankful that I got that opportunity, and I'm thankful just to be on the same field. Football-wise, it's one of the first times that we came out and played a collective game, offensively, defensively, as well as special teams. With Mata hitting that field goal right before the half was tremendous. Just even the
Give me a platform for me to display my abilities. You know, that's all you can ask for as a dad, is always just to be there and, you know, just have support and everything like that. But he set the stage. He did everything he was supposed to do. Now it's time for me to walk in my own path, walk on my own journey. And that's what you see game in and game out. Every game is legendary.
I saw you before the game, myself and Cam Newton marched through. Cam was damn near running at you. And I saw an attention to detail, focus that I haven't seen in a very long time in any teammate and any athlete. What is that? Where do you get that from? Knowing you got all this stuff going on, all these stars and celebrities coming at you. How do you stay focused like that?
By remembering that you was just an HBCU kid that couldn't do it on the Power 5 level. That's really what it was. I don't forget anything. I don't forget what anybody ever said. And personally, I'm not one to, you know, make friends or feel like just because success is going on now, I'm going to forgive everybody. Like, nah, whatever you said at any point in time, I'm not really a forgiving type. So that's how I am. Dad's older, so you know, he's more of you know, he's more forgiving, and he always tell me be a little bit that way. But I just
So there was smoke between Cam said.
nah, I wasn't talking about. I'm talking about overall. like with the question you asked, that's overall like how I'm so laser focused and all the distractions and everything. It's just I just don't pay attention to really the cameras and everything because all that stuff there. But I always remember I was just an HBCU kid that couldn't do it at a Power 5 level.
Cameron, last year defense was a huge point of discussion.
Roar back in the second half. Beck throws for 439 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, had a fumble, but Jalen Milroe in the end is the guy that's standing. 374 yards through the air, 117 on the ground, 4 total touchdowns, and the Alabama Crimson Tide absorb Georgia's fight. 41-34 in an absolute classic. This college football postgame report is built by the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Welcome in CBS Sports college football writer Richard Johnson and 2-time national champ Damian Harris, the former Alabama running back. Damian, you went 3-0 against Georgia, including wins in the SEC Championship and in the Natty. You said this week Georgia is still the little brother to Alabama. Well, the little brother fought back, but the big brother was standing tall in the end.
Yeah, Georgia fought. And I'll be honest, halfway through this game, I was talking about how Carson Beck wasn't good, Georgia wasn't good. I had a whole list of tweets I was ready to put out, a whole bunch of posts, videos of me talking about how Alabama's the big brother, Georgia's the little brother. Well, listen, I can tell you guys, Bama won, but Georgia is good. That is a team that can fight like that can bounce back when they were absolutely left for nothing. Like, they were left for dead, essentially, on that field. Nobody had any faith in them other than Kirby Smart, Carson Beck, and the guys in that locker room. So I got to tip my hat. I got to, because Georgia, the way they played in the second half, I'm not sure if Alabama doesn't jump the gun and jump out to such an early dominant lead. I'm not sure if they go toe-to-toe throughout the game, if Alabama can keep up. I mean, with what I saw in the second half. So it was really conservative by Alabama. Georgia took full advantage. They came out swinging in the second half. Granted, not everything went their way, similar to the first half. They still had some turnovers. They had some plays I'm sure they wish they could have back. But they kept fighting. They kept scratching. They kept clawing. And that is that's what a Kirby Smart coach team is going to do. They're never down. They're never out. So, man, Georgia is the little brother, but they're looking not so little right now.
How about that final play, Richard? Zabian Brown making that play, contorting his body. How athletic to seal the victory for the Tide.
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, Zabian Brown got beat on a touchdown in the third quarter, and he comes back, and he's able to make the play at the end of the game. Obviously, cornerbacks, defensive backs, you have to have a short memory. But I agree with Damian. If we play that game for another 10 minutes, I'm not so sure Georgia doesn't come out with the victory. I thought Alabama threw adjustments, but some of the tricks that Alabama were able to pull out of their sleeve in the first half, they were not working in the second half. Georgia figured out a way to get lined up against Alabama's shifts and motions. They figured out a way to limit the way Alabama could get to the edge with Jalen Milroe in the QB run game. And I also was not so thrilled with how Alabama managed the clock, particularly in the fourth quarter. I thought they could have taken some more time off the clock and milked it a little bit more and maybe created even less margin for Georgia to try to pull this comeback off.
Damian, what do you think Nick Saban would say after this game? Because I kind of have an idea. What would he say if you were in that locker room right now and he was still coaching this team?
I think you guys would be surprised because, like I said, that's a good team that they just played. Granted, they jumped out and they, like you guys said, they threw the kitchen sink and they looked like a superior team. But let's not forget, Georgia is very talented. They're coached well. They play hard. They're good on offense. They're good on defense. They had a couple miscues on special teams, but both teams did. I mean, that's something that happens. But this is a really good team. So Coach Saban would probably come in and say, listen, guys, this was not our best game, especially in the second half. We lacked execution. We lacked discipline. We lacked the competitive nature to keep our foot on the gas. With that being said, we just beat a really good team at home who is ranked above us, and that's all that matters. Each and every week, you got to go 1-0 because all these teams that want to get into the 12-team playoffs, all these teams that want to get in their conference championships, the only way you can do that is by going 1-0 every single week. Now, that next day meeting, that Monday meeting, that might not be so nice. It might not be so nice because you know what Coach Saban does? He sits back in his chair and crosses his arm, and he's got that laser pointer, and he just kind of points at stuff on the screen. And whenever you get circled on the screen, you know what's coming, and you got to be prepared for it. So the next couple of days would have been a little bit more harsh, but at the end of the day, Alabama just beat a really, really, really good Georgia football team. So you got to give credit where it's due. Georgia played their tails off in the second half. They made it really competitive. They had a chance to win the game. But at the end of the day, Alabama, there is a team that won and there's a team that lost. Alabama was the team that won. So, yes, there's a lot of things to clean up and there's a lot of things that you can correct, especially looking at the second half. But at the end of the day, a win is a win.
A win is a win. And I can imagine Nick Saban sitting there going, it's not how you finish. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. But Kalen DeBoer, we saw some emotion from him in this game. I mean, there was a clear pass interference call in the first half that did not get called. We saw him jumping around, yelling at the officials like me at a Pee Wee football game, yelling at officials. And I'm sitting here going, okay, this is the guy that people didn't know, that still has passion, was mild-mannered, and he's looking like Nick Saban on the sideline. He's lucky that he has Jalen Milroe as his quarterback, Richard.
Yeah, you saw some of the fire. You saw some of the things that you like from your leader on the sideline. You're right, but they squeaked it out at the end.
Right, but at the end of the day, isn't all that matters?
It is. You know, we talked about defensive backs having a short memory. We talked about defensive backs needing to just play the next play. That's what Carson Beck showed me in this game. The box scores 27 of 50, 3 interceptions, 439 yards, and 3 touchdowns, and a partridge in a pear tree. He had everything in this game happen to him, but he was able to respond. He was able to start seeing the defense in the second half, and he was able to get his Georgia Bulldogs to the doorstep of what would have been the biggest comeback in school history.
Yeah, Carson Beck showed a lot. A lot. And I think it goes beyond the talent that he has, his arm talent, his measurables. He showed a competitive nature, an ability to flip the script after a bad play, after 2 bad plays, after 3 bad plays, after multiple bad plays. Things weren't going their way, but it built like Tim Tebow. Well, a lot of things that people are missing that coaches and GMs really care about is that competitive nature. Look back to the New England Patriots and what happened with them in the Super Bowl against the Falcons. Everything for Atlanta was working perfectly. They threw the kitchen sink at New England. What did Tom Brady do? He just kept flipping the page, playing the next play, playing the next down, just kept chugging along, and they were able to win. Granted, Carson Beck fell short today because he was going up against the guy who, in my opinion now, is the Heisman frontrunner.
Yep.
But he still showed innate leadership, the ability to be a great leader, the ability to be a competitor. And obviously we saw with the stats that he had, he can play ball. He can throw the ball around. He can get the ball to his playmakers. He can make the plays to set you up to come back from such a deficit. So to me, Carson Beck really showed a lot. Not as much about what's going on here with this arm, but what's going on in here. What's going on in here, up here, you know? The things that aren't measured at the combine, the things that you can't look at and be like, oh, well, he should have this because he's this height or he's this weight or he's got this kind of arm talent. No, he showed what was in here that is immeasurable unless you see it in a big-time game like this in a situation like he was in.
Well, hats off to Carson Beck. But, I mean, Jalen Milroe had 491 total yards. Okay, I love that we're talking about Carson Beck and that he showed grit and he showed fight. But, man, Jalen Milroe, as you just said, is your Heisman frontrunner. 491, 4 total touchdowns. He throws an absolute dime to Ryan Williams, who's 17 years old, Damian.
The kid.
The receivers that this program churns out. This kid was deep on the depth chart. Jalen Milroe goes, hey, Coach, I think we need to move him up with the ones. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not wrong, Jalen Milroe. And that's a leader identifying who can be his top weapon, who can be his most reliable, big play, securing a catch for a first down. He has that belief in Ryan Williams. And to be honest, the entire country does. And a 17-year-old, how crazy is that? In the biggest stage of college football, this was the biggest game of the year by far. And to be honest, the way the game went, I don't know that there will be a bigger, more competitive, more exciting, thrilling game. And what is it? It's your leader in Jalen Milroe, your Heisman Trophy favorite right now, going to his 17-year-old go-to guy. Bill Belichick used to talk about all the time. Every team, every quarterback has a go-to guy in a go-to situation. Well, Ryan Williams is that guy at 17 years old. He'll be that guy this year, next year, the year after that, and then he's going to be a top pick. But what Jalen Milroe has done setting him up, bringing him in, showing that leadership, and then obviously the talent that he possesses, being able to throw the ball, being a much improved passer, being able to run the ball at such an efficient and high level. I mean, this guy is spectacular, and all the critics, all the naysayers, like they say, let a naysayer know. All the naysayers that talk bad about Jalen Milroe and had something to say about him getting benched last year, like they're still talking about this. They're still, and you know, Kirk Herbstreit said it best. I was listening to this when I was driving home from the airport. Kirk Herbstreit said it best. It's left a stain on him, not in the way that he plays, not in the sense of, oh, well, he's still, you know, we're still trying to see him improve. No, he wears it because that was insulting to him, because he knew how good he was. He knew what he was capable of. It wasn't panning out quite yet. But now he's taken everything that everybody said, everything that everybody believed about him, whether it was about him being a passer, him playing at the next level, whatever you want to say about the kid, he's proven everybody wrong with the way that he has started this season. And granted, Georgia played a heck of a game. They came back, but Alabama has zero, and I mean zero, chance without Jalen Milroe tonight.
You know, one thing I don't want to hear coming out of this game is that, oh, the 12-team playoff is going to ruin the regular season. The 12-team playoff is going to take the juice out of some of these games. Are you crazy?
No, it's not.
That was an absolute belter game of the year, and it's only week 5. I don't come out of that game and say the 12-team playoff takes any juice out of it. I want that game again. And by the way, we may get it, or we might not.
You might see it 2 more times.
You might see it 2 more times. You don't know if Texas is what they look like right now. Maybe you don't get this game again. By the way, maybe this game really, really does matter in the end, because it's Texas and Georgia, or excuse me, it's Texas and Alabama potentially playing for a bye in the SEC championship game. So heck yeah, this game mattered. And heck yeah, this game was still just as exciting as it would have been BCS split national championship era. I don't even care. I'm juiced off that, man. That was incredible.
You should be. The game was awesome. It was bonkers. Damian, Richard, appreciate the post game. Much more ahead here on CBS Sports HQ. What a classic that was. Alabama and Georgia, the rivalry renewed. But some streaks come to an end for the Dogs. The big one, 42 straight regular season wins. It's over. Get this. Over the past 52 games, Georgia is 1-3 against Alabama, 48-0 against everyone else.